Hey there, I'm Josh from Synty Studios, and in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can use splines to help you create an environment. In this case, we're going to use the splines to create a racetrack in the Polygon Pro Racer Pack. The first thing we need to do is make sure that splines are actually enabled. To do this, we're going to go to Window at the top toolbar, go to Package Management, and load the Package Manager. We want to go to the Unity registry, and then search for splines. Select that, and if it says Locate, that means it's already installed. Otherwise, you can click Install to install it, and then close this. Next, I'm going to find an area where we can go make a new racetrack. Once I'm there, I'm going to select the track in the hierarchy and click the visibility icon to hide it for now so we have a nice clean area to work with. I'm next going to click the Create Spline tool. This will turn our mouse cursor into a spline painter. Now we can click and it paints a node for our spline. You'll notice that as we paint new nodes, it creates a natural curve between the last point. We'll also be able to move and rotate our nodes later to adjust the track. For now, let's finish painting our path. We can also click on the first node we placed to close the loop. Once that's done, we can expand Spline 0 in the Spline container in the inspector. Here we can see all the nodes we placed and enable or disable whether it's a closed loop. Now, let's go to Add Component and add a Spline Extrude component. This will create the mesh that actually follows the spline so we can see the road. We'll need to modify the settings. By default, it renders a cylinder that follows the spline, but the Polygon Pro Racer Pack has some spline references that include templates that we can use to create a road really easily. Let's change the shape extrude type from circle to spline profile. Then, we can go to template and choose the spline reference road, which is included in the Polygon Pro Racer demo map. We still need to modify a few of the settings, but we can go to the existing track in the level to copy them from there. I'm just going to quickly re-enable the track in the level and select the road so that I can get those settings to copy them. We can see that the existing road has a side count of 5 and it's on the x-axis. Its radius is also 1.3. Let's go bring those settings to our road. Once we're back on our spline, we'll go to the side count and set it to 5, and we'll set the axis to x. Then, we'll set the radius to 1.3. You'll notice that our road is gray. That's because it's on the default material. We can also set the road material on this so that our road appears. Let's select the material, search for road, and then select Road 01. You can see that our road has a bit of height. This is so that we can bring the spline down a bit and it'll smush into the terrain. Let's move the spline down now. Now let's do some tweaking on our spline. We can see that this curve over here is a little bit rough. There's a few ways we can adjust this. The first is you can adjust the segments per unit. This creates more meshes at corners and it can sometimes be used to smooth out rough corners like this. However, this one's a little bit too rough, so we're probably going to need to adjust the positions of the road and the tangents of the curve. To get to spline edit mode, with our spline selected, click the game object icon at the top left toolbar and switch it to spline mode. We are now able to select the spline nodes in the world. With them selected, we can translate them as well as rotate them. We can move them around and see how it adjusts the curve. We can also switch to rotate mode and give it a subtle roll to match the terrain a bit better. If you look at the bottom right with a node selected, you can see that it's set to auto mode. This means the curve adjusts automatically. However, we can set it to Bezier, and that will give us more nodes we can select in the world to adjust the tangent of the curve. We can select and move that and see how it adjusts the curve. By playing with these values and going over our road, we can adjust it so that it matches the terrain and looks nice and natural. By default, our new spline doesn't have collision yet. Let's fix that by going to Add Component and adding a Mesh Collider. It should automatically set it to be a Spline Mesh Collider. We can verify that by going to the settings and seeing that the mesh is Spline Extruded Mesh. We should now be ready to drive on our new road. But let's pretty it up first. We're able to spawn additional props at customizable intervals along our spline. To do this, go to Add Component and add the Spline Instantiate component. Here, there's the Items to Instantiate field. This is where we can choose which props spawn alongside our road. I'm going to click the plus icon to add an item and then search for barrier tire. We have 5 different barrier tires, so I'm going to add all 5 so that we can have some variety. Once all 5 are added, we can tweak their settings to control how it appears on the road. If we move in a little closer, we can see that they're spawning under the road right now. You can see that from the little gizmos under the road. Let's enable the position offset and then adjust them on the y-axis to bring them up a little higher so we can see them. We also need to change the forward axis on the game object to object X+, not Z. They're now facing the right way, but they're overlapping. To fix this, we can adjust the spacing. We can also adjust the spacing type from exact to random. Then we can set a min and max value. This will create some variety in the appearance. Let's also adjust the x-axis offset so that our barriers are more on the edge of the road. We can also set this to random and set a min and max value to create more variety in the appearance as well. Just like the position, we can set a rotation offset. We can also set this to be random and give a minor rotation offset to create variety in the appearance as well. You can also do this with the scale if you want. I'm just going to quickly do a little more tweaking. If you notice, it's only actually spawning one barrier type right now. This is because the spawn percentage on each type is set to 0, so it's just spawning the first one. Since there's 5, let's set each to 20%. Now, we can press the randomize button. It will randomize all of our random values. You can see that it's generating different barriers now. This was just a quick look at the basics, but as you can see, in a matter of minutes, we made a nice new racing track to race on. The Polygon Pro Racer Pack also includes spline templates for dirt roads, grass, dirt, tire streaks, and more to bring your racetracks to life. Thanks for watching. If you found this tutorial helpful, please like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments if there's any other tutorials you'd like to see. All of the assets used in this video can be found in the description.